Hello, my lovely viewers. Welcome to Beginners Leather Dash Abdullah Suleimana YouTube channel. In a few couple of minutes, we shall be discussing files and folder management. So let's kick start. A folder is a container used to store files for future easy access. Whereas a file is a collection of related data for a particular objective. A folder is a container, and a container is something that we use to store items or to keep items. So here we can say that a folder is something we use to keep items. And the items here is our files. So what is a file? A file is a collection of related data for a particular objective. Before we come to that, let's go back to our various houses. Then you have a room. In your room, possibly you will have items like brush, toothpaste, sugar, Lipton, needle, Milo, sandals, slippers, sponge, soap, towel, clothing, so many things. I am very sure that no one would like to put his brush in the same container that contains soap and sponge. So it's telling us that whatever group of items you are putting in a particular container should be related. So that is why we said a file is a collection of related items. So there, I am very sure that what we usually do is we put brush, toothpaste in one container. We put shoes, sandals, slippers, canvas, and other stuffs in another container. We put, let's say, soap and sponge in another container. So those particular items, if you observe very well, you will see that they are for a particular purposes. If you want to do, like, if you want to take your breakfast, you move to the container that contains sugar, Lipton, Milo, Nido, and other stuffs. If you want to brush your teeth, you move towards the container that contains brush and toothpaste. So you see that it helps you to identify your items very easily. And it also helps you not to misplace your items anyhow. Supposing you don't have a container for your toothbrush and toothpaste, you may end up throwing your brush at any place. And whenever you are to use them, you may not even know where you last kept them. Are we together? So that explains the importance of folder and file. And in computer science, a file can be in the form of a program or it can be a document. Are we together? Let's say you've written a program to, let's say, calculate student grades. That particular program, we call it a file. And we said a file is something that contains related items. So supposing you are to write a program that calculates students' grades, it means that all the content in that particular program should be something that talks about how to grade students. Are we together? So all your algorithms, all your codes should have something in relation to student grading. Are we together? So you can't be writing a program to calculate student grades and along the line you chip in a code that is used to execute different tasks. You get red lines when you run the code. Are we together? It will not work for you. So it means that all the content of that particular program should be something that has something to do with student grading. So that is why we say it's a collection of related items. So add to that, supposing you are to write a letter, it's also a file. Once you open your word processing document and start writing, when you finish, that particular thing is called a file. So once you are writing about, let's say, a formal letter applying for a particular job, all the content of that letter, the body, all the grammar and other stuff you are going to pour there should be something that has to do with your application. It wouldn't be necessary for you to talk outside or to talk on something that has no relationship with your application. Are we together? So all your information in that letter should be related to your subjects of the letter. Are we together? So you wouldn't be writing about, let's say, your application for your application to be employed as a teacher, and let's say you'll be talking about farming activities. Are we together? So all the information in that particular file, that particular letter, must be related to the subject. So let's continue. How to create a folder. The first step is one, right click at any space on the desktop screen or at the window in which you want to reside the folder. Note, a window is a rectangular box that shows the program currently running on the computer. It has features like minimize button, maximize or restore button, and close button. And those buttons are found at the right top corner of that particular file we are working with. Window, people usually confuse it with dialog box. A dialog box also looks like a window, but it has no minimize and maximize buttons. It only pops up to prompt a user takes an action. Are we clear with the difference? So supposing you open word processing document to type something, it becomes a window. Are we together? Or if you open a folder, it becomes a window. Inside that folder, you can create another folder. Are we together? So inside a folder, it means that if you want to create another folder, you have to click at the empty space inside that folder. If you open a browser, it becomes a window. All those that I mentioned, if you check at the right top corner, you will see those three particular buttons. The minimize button, that looks like minus. The maximize or restore button, that looks like rectangle. And the close button, that looks like times sign, multiplication sign, I mean. Are we together? And when we are talking about dialog box, like I said, it pops up whenever a user wants to take a particular action. For instance, if you open your word processing document, you are on a window. If you try to save it, something will pop up and we call it save as dialog box. Are we together? So when you check on that box, you will see that it wouldn't have the minimize and maximize button, but it will only have the close button where you can decide to close it. If you want to, let's say, open another document from the current document you are working with, if you click on the open, you see that open dialog box will pop up. There you can select whatever you want to open. Are we together? So that one only pops up when a user wants to take an action. So let's go back to how we create folder. And the Windows 2, let me add another thing before we leave there. We have window and we have Windows. Windows is an operating system, and window is an open file or an open program. Are we together? So when you open a particular program, the interface is what we call window. So you can decide to open your browser, you can decide to open a file, you can decide to open a folder, and those interfaces are what we call window. We don't add X to that one. But when we say Windows, we are talking on different things altogether. And that one is the operating system. It is a system unit. It is operating system. It is a system that allows the computer to function. It is the platform that gives access for other programs to be run on the computer. Are we together? So let's go back to our discussion on how to create a folder. So the first step, I said you right click at any space on the desktop screen or at the window in which you want to reside the folder. After you have done that, the second step is when you click, when you right click, some write up will pop up. You look for new among those write up. So you select the new. After selecting the new, you move to step 3. Another write up will pop up when you select the new. Among those ones, you look for what we call folder and you click on that folder. When you click on the folder, you see that something will jump onto your screen. So that particular thing will come with its name being highlighted. Usually the default name is new folder. Depending on the number of times you have created the new folder, the number will be attached. So you can see something like new folder. You can see something like new folder 1, new folder 2, new folder 3, in that order being highlighted. If you want to maintain that name, you click outside and it will be saved. If you don't want to keep that name, you type in the new name that you want to give to it, and it will replace the highlighted name. So let's go through the steps. On your display here is what we call the desktop. So you get an empty space. Here, there is nothing there. The place where the one is an empty place. There is no icon there. So you put your cursor there and you right click. After right clicking, the right tab will pop up like this. View, sort by, refresh. So you look for new, which is the step 2. When you get your step 2, which is the new, some right tab will pop up again. So there you look for folder. That is the first thing you will see. And that is our step 3. Upon clicking on the folder, you see that a folder will be created with a default name, new folder. Are we together? So if you don't want to keep that name, it will come with a highlighted it will come being highlighted. If you don't want to keep that name, you type in the new name that you want to give to it. But once you want to maintain it, you click outside and it will go. So let's continue. We are now going to talk on how to rename a folder. The first step you must always do is to right click on the folder you want to rename. So supposing the folder we just created, we didn't write the name that we wanted, we maintain the default name. So now we are going to rename it to the particular name we want. So what we are going to do is to right click on that folder. Are we together? After that, some write-up will pop up again. You check through those write-up. You see rename. So we click on that rename. After clicking on the rename, the default name will be highlighted or the old name will be highlighted. Now it is asking you to type in the new name that you want. So when you start typing, you see that Whatever you are typing will replace the highlighted text. When you are done with the name, you click outside the folder and you see that it will exit and save. So supposing the one here, the first step, that is our folder that we want to rename. So the first thing we must do is to click on this folder. So after clicking on it, we look for rename, which is our step 2. Are we together? So after clicking on the step 2, the step 3, you see that the old name has been highlighted. So now it is asking us to type in the new name that we want. So here you type in the new name, it will replace the highlighted text. And you click outside the folder, which is step 4. You click outside. So when you click outside, you see that the new name will be kept for you. Thank you for being part of this tutorial, and I hope you can create your own folders by now. You can use the same step that we use for creating folders on our desktop to create folders on our folders. So once you open a folder, you can use the same step to create another folder inside that folder. Are we together? Thank you for being part of this tutorial, and I urge that you subscribe to Beginners Learner Abdullah Suleimana. And anytime that I upload video, you will be the first person to have a look at it. Thank you very much for your time.